Hello, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming out today and for zooming in. Hello, audience at home. My name is Rai. I'm one of the, or I guess I am the events manager at Future Poem. But everything's so malleable. We're kind of all things at once. And I wanted to introduce you to this lovely edition of Segue, featuring Roberto Balò and Mirene Arsanios. A few quick things. We have books for sale. There's going to be a 5-minute break after the first reader. Please be sure to put tips, donate, get books, all that stuff, and hang out at the curb right after, because we want to go upstairs fast. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Joey. Joey, I remember like Yargosian, but like, no, it's not it at all. Joey, no, Urgis Algazin. Joey Uris Algazin. Amazing. It's a name. I know, I love it. Thank you. So I'm going to introduce Joey, who's going to introduce Roberto. Okay, thank you. Give it up for Joey.
Okay, I was asked very recently to read this introduction that Rob wrote for Rob, but thought that if because Rob is reading it's a double Bob Bill. Okay, so Rob's reading with Rob Fitterman is reading with Robert Balò? Roberto, sorry. Okay, Roberto Balò and Rob Fitterman are going to be reading together, so I was asked to. This is a lot of lead up to people who don't matter. Me and me. Okay, so planet Earth is blue and there's nothing I can do. Imagine your ship, your spaceship, is traveling across the cosmos. You're very much alone, very much like Ulysses, of having faced numerous trials, battles with mythical creatures, navigating divine interference, missing your Penelope, your lover. Your ship is barreling by destiny towards a black hole, where all your pasts and futures collide. Welcome to the intergalactic world of Roberto Balò's Saga. Published in Italian in 2019, Saga is a book-length serial poem, space opera, that reimagines the Odyssey from the vantage point of outer space. Its minimal form intensifies the introspection, longing, and aloneness of the hero's space travel. As poet Elisa Biagini writes, nobody, nessuno, is traveling. He searches for a meaning in the curvature of time. He chases crumbs of myth every day in his spaceship and asks himself questions about the nature of being. This local space hero is often hovering above a black hole, looking for holograms of a you who is never left, but from which one continues to leave. Quote, useless to leave, useless to stay, nothing new from the stellar front. And as Chico Reddy says, David Bowie would have loved it. In 2023, Roberto Balò and Robert Fitterman translated Saga into English. They're happy to announce that Lavender Ink, Dialogos, will be publishing the bilingual translation next year. This is Roberto Balò's debut reading in the US, so please give him a warm welcome and welcome him to Segue at Artist Space.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you, everybody. Grazie. The plants. Ciao anche chi ci segue da Zoom. Falsa partenza. La mia astronave è partita solo per cercare conferme a quello che già sapeva. Inutile partire, inutile restare. Penny, lasciata a casa, mi dimenticherà 1000 volte. Ma non ha detto niente. Anche lei sapeva, Itaca morbida, troppo comoda, troppo facile morire tra i tuoi seni teneri, anche se questo viaggiare è pur sempre una prigione.
False start. My spaceship left, only to see confirmation for what it already knew. No point in leaving, no point in staying. Penny left at home. She will forgive me 1,000 times, but she didn't say anything. She too knew, too soft, Ithaca, too comfortable, too easy to die between your warm breasts, even if this traveling is still a prison.
Buoni propositi. Aggiustare l'astronave e sparire davvero. Bere nel silenzio perenne dello spazio. Tentare di raggiungere una supernova. Non sostare troppo nei porti interplanetari. Tenere bene a mente ciò che voglio imparare. Evitare le circi e le nasiche che succhiano l'anima. Ibernarmi per guadagnare tempo. Smettere di lasciare solo rovine dei paesaggi che ho desiderato.
Good intentions. Fix the spaceship and totally disappear, drinking in the perpetual silence of space. Attempt to reach a supernova. Don't hang out too long in interplanetary ports. Keep in mind what I learned. Avoid the soul-sucking Circe and Nausicaa. Hibernate myself to save time. Stop leaving behind nothing but ruins on the landscapes I once desired.
Solito sbaglio. Mentre sono ingrovigliato tra gambe e lingue biforcute, urla, spari, scrosci di sangue verde e viscere nere mi colano addosso. Trovo il mio laser, ne faccio fuori un po' a caso. Non ce l'ho con nessuno in particolare. Tento la fuga e mi atterrano. Mentre sto per lanciarmi dai vetri, mi bronzano, ancora sbronzo.
The usual mistake. As I'm entangled between legs and forked tongues, screams, gunshots, splashes of green blood and black entrails drip onto me. I find my laser. I'll take some out randomly. I'm not mad at anyone in particular. I try to escape and they knock me down. As I'm about to throw myself through the glass, they stone me as I'm still stoned.
Ambiguità temporale. Ti penso ogni tuo giorno di 24 ore, sogno immancabile dei miei sonni chimici, qui dove i soli tramontano e sorgono ogni 5 minuti, dove queste orribili stelle placebo di te mi drogano quale eroe tra i lotofagi e gli anni luce del ritorno sono troppo lunghi per i miei immanenti rimuginamenti.
Temporal ambiguity. I think about you 24/7, inevitable dreams from my chemical sleep. Here, where the suns set and rise every 5 minutes, where those horrible stars are a placebo of you, they drug me as a hero among the lotus eaters, and the light years of return, they are too long for my eminent ruminations.
Mentre il tempo passa, scansare meteoriti, schizzare negli iperspazi, girovagare sotto droghe aliene. Che differenza tra il fresco condizionato di questa astronave e quello dei boschi che frequenti, tra le piscine spaziali e i mari pescosi in cui ti bagni. Penny, abilissima sarta dalla tela troppo piccola per la mia pazzia enorme. 20 anni sono troppi per chiunque abbia un po' di vita addosso.
As time goes by, avoid meteorites, splash into hyperspace, wander around on alien drugs, What a difference between this air-conditioned spaceship and that of the woods you love so much, among the space pools and the seas full of fish in which you bathe. Penny, a very skilled seamstress, weaving a cloth much too small for my oversized madness. 20 years is too long for anyone with a little life in them.
Imprevisti. Notte in un'oasi siderale, nel deserto di antimateria ancora tu, in stratocumuli di sogni, come una droga e per tutto il giorno, cumulonembi di ricordi, mi tormentano come mai in questi spazi ondulati di distanze percorse dalla tua essenza trascendente, la tua sproporzionata assenza, mi gonfia, me, che non ti ho lasciata, ma sono partito e per te non fa differenza.
Unforeseen. Night in a sideral oasis, in the antimatter desert, still you in the stratocumulus of my dreams, like a dream throughout the day. Low nimbus clouds of memory torment me like never before. In these undulating spaces of distances traveled from your transcendent essence, your disproportionate absence swells in me that I didn't leave you, but I left, and to you it makes no difference.
Cronos. È il tempo che condanna i sentimenti e le navi servono per provare a rincorrerlo e guadagnare un pugno di nanosecondi.
Chronos. It is time that condemns feelings, and the ships are used to chase it down and gain a handful of nanoseconds.
Debolezza. E poi un giorno sotto 20 soli, ardente luce dall'oblò, pensare che le ninfe son fresche, t'abbracciano e hanno case morbide e spaziose abbastanza per tutti i passati di questi mondi, e poter smettere di vagare con quest'ammasso di ferraglia, di incazzarmi con tutti i coglioni alle stazioni di sosta, se magari non fosse così vero che accettare e abbandonare.
Weakness. And then one day, under 20 suns, a burning light from a portal, thinking about how innocent the nymphs are, how they embrace you and have houses soft and spacious enough for all these pasts of these worlds, how to stop wandering in this tin can, how to stop getting pissed at all the assholes at the rest stations, if maybe it weren't so true that to accept is to abandon.
Invocare. Ninfe, 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 me, inconsolabile me, davvero ho consumato troppi anni e quelli che restano non bastano per rifarli a ritroso.
Invoking. Nymphs, 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 me, inconsolable me. I've totally used up too many years, and those that remain are not enough to do backwards.
Voltarsi. A ritroso, a rivedere le stelle, cercare il buco della bolla, tutto risaldato, convesso, liscio, non scalfito. Di là dallo schermo, isolato universo di pianeti, meteore, capitani, storie, lune, astri, mostri. Resto bloccato in quest'altro sistema.
Turn around, backwards to see the stars again. Look for the wormhole rupture, all re-welded convex, smooth, not scratched beyond the screen. isolated universe of planets, meteors, captains, stories, moons, stars, monsters. I'm stuck in this other system.
Panspermia. Ci insegnano a scendere a patti, a rispettare precetti e ordini per imbrigliare fantasia e volontà, perché nasciamo anarchici, azioni e pensieri sono pura vita. Potremmo visitare lo spazio profondo, nell'arco di una generazione diventare dei, ma tutto si perde nel momento in cui cominciamo noi a dettarle le regole.
Panspermia. They teach us to come to terms, to respect precepts and orders, to harness imagination and will, because we are born anarchists. Actions and thoughts are pure life. We could visit deep space, within a generation become gods, but everything is lost the moment we begin ourselves to dictate.
Ubik. Quel giorno la materia ha cominciato a rarefarsi, gli oggetti erano sfocati, la realtà iniziava a svanire, da lucida a opaca. È stato un attimo, un infinitesimo di secondo che non se n'è più andato.
Ubik. That day, matter began to thin out. Objects became blurry. Reality started to fade from shiny to opaque. It was a moment, an infinitesimal second that never left.
Stanza singola. Ogni mattina ti trovo nel mio letto. Ti percepisco, ma non ti vedo. Non sei trasparente, non sei opaca. Ti preparo il caffè, ma lo lasci sempre lì. Non hai corpo né spettro. Sei solida ed eterea, maschile e femminile. Riempi, ma fai sentire il vuoto. Sei sempre con me, eppure non sono sicuro che tu esista.
Single room. Every morning I find you in my bed. I sense you, but I don't see you. You're not transparent. You're not opaque. I'll make you coffee, but you always leave it there. You have no body, nor spectrum. You are solid and ethereal, masculine and feminine. You fill me, but what I feel is the emptiness. You are always with me, but I'm not sure you exist.
Con gli occhi aperti. Conta ciò che voglio sentirmi dire. I precognitivi lo confermano. Si cerca quello che si vuole trovare, anche se fino a un attimo prima non esisteva nemmeno.
Eyes wide open. What matters is what I want to hear. Precogs confirm this. One searches for what one wants to find, even if until a moment before it didn't exist.
Itaca. Per fortuna ci sei tu, con i capelli elettrici tendenti verso lo spazio e i tuoi bellissimi piedi per terra ad ancorarmi all'isola. Io cerco la deriva, mi lascio portare dalle onde gravitazionali, ma non funziona. Ogni nave deve avere un destino.
Ithaca. Thankfully, there is you with your electric hair reaching out into space and your beautiful feet on the ground to anchor me in the island I'm looking to drift, to let myself be carried by gravitational waves. But it doesn't work. Every ship should have a destiny.
Destinazione finale. Partire è il tuo istinto. Io traccheggio, rimando, freno, non che non voglia, è la destinazione che è nota.
Final destination. Your instinct is to leave. Me, I avoid, drag my feet, hit the brakes, but it's not what I want, but it is a known destination.
Lo sporco del tempo. Le cose belle, come le cronomacchine, costano troppo o fanno male. Per questo sono proibite. Lo stesso frequento locali clandestini nei bassifondi del primo livello. Con parole d'ordine e crediti alla mano si può viaggiare nel tempo. Se ti beccano sei morto. Ma è un vizio il tempo, che queste macchine inquinano. Ormai ci sono decine di io sparsi nei passati che cambiano e nei futuri che si sommano. I cronospazzini hanno un grande affare.
The dirt of time. Beautiful things like time machines cost too much and they're dangerous. This is why they are prohibited. All the same, I frequent surreptitious dive bars in the shanty town of the first level with passwords and credit in hand. You can travel through time. If you get caught, you're dead. But time is a vice that these machines mess with. There are dozens of me's by now scattered in the changing pasts and in the futures that add up. The time sweepers have their hands full.
Paleoastronautica. Risalgo il tempo fino all'attimo prima del Big Bang. Lei è lì, nella luce scarlatta, così bella che mi mette ai suoi piedi. Ma tutto esplode mentre diventiamo infinitesimali elementi dell'evoluzione.
Paleoastronautics. I crawl back in time to the moment before the Big Bang. She is there in the scarlet light, so beautiful that I put myself at her feet. But everything explodes as we become infinitesimal elements of evolution.
Fame di distrazione. Smettere di giocare con il tempo. È ora di cambiare, di sembrare grandi, laurearsi e lavorare. È ora di mettere su casa di quelle tutte vetri e idromassaggi. È ora di pianificare esplorazioni, sfruttamenti minerari, viaggi interstellari, riduzione dei costi, massimizzazione dei profitti. Tutto ciò che serve per diventare inutile.
Appetite for distraction. Stop playing around. It's time to look grown up, graduate, and get a job. It's time to set up home, all glass and whirlpools. It's time to plan explorations, mineral exploitations, interstellar travels, cost reductions, profit maximization, everything it takes to become useless.
Misenabim. Non si può viaggiare impunemente. Quando sei nell'iperspazio, tutto quello che credi di volere si materializza come tra due specchi. Il corpo si fonde nei tempi, te stesso e tutti gli altri riflessi all'infinito. Poi ne esci e devi fare i conti con un nuovo passato.
Mizonabim. You can't travel with impunity when you are in hyperspace. Everything you think you want materializes as if between two mirrors. The body emerges into time, yourself and everyone else reflected to infinity. Then you come out and you have to deal with a new past.
Forse sognare. Superare gli orli delle galassie esplorare pianeti all'infinito, ammazzare mostri, infilarsi nei buchi neri, restare giovani mentre tutti invecchiano, imparare lingue aliene, pensare in altri modi, perdersi nelle curvature del tempo, arrivare più in là, oltre l'infinito.
Maybe dreaming. Overcome the edges of galaxies, explore planets infinitely, slay monsters, squeeze through wormholes, stay young while everyone gets old, learn alien languages, think in other ways, get lost in the warps of time, go further beyond infinity.
Decomposizione. Senza te divento plasma, atomo di elettroni strappati, globalmente neutro. Non ti lascio, parto, comprendi la differenza.
Decomposition. Without you, I become plasma, an atom torn from the electrons, globally neutral. I'm not leaving you, I'm leaving. Understand the difference.
Epica spaziale. Saltare su questa anonima nave da trasporto, lenta ma robusta. Prendersi tutto il tempo che resta. Allontanarsi senza voltarsi, partire con niente, portandosi dietro quasi tutto. E quel che rimane starà ad aspettare paziente i miei ritorni non previsti.
Space epic. Jumping onto this anonymous cargo ship, slow but sturdy, taking all the time left, walking away without looking back, leaving with nothing, taking almost everything, and what remains will stand patiently for my unforeseen returns. Thank you.
Grazie. Grazie.
Alrighty, we're going to take a quick 5-minute break. Feel free to use the restroom or donate or get a book from over there. Thank you. Hello, hi everyone. We're going to get started with our next reader. So I'm going to introduce Ahana Gangli, who's going to introduce Mirene Arsanios, and then we're going to have a great little party. So thank you. Come on by, Ahana. Thank you.
I'll invite you up after. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Ahana. I manage submissions at Future Poem. And I'm excited to be introducing Mirene tonight. We'll have 2 introductions. I have a short little description and then her bio and then, yeah. Okay. In Mirene's work, relationships between language, bodies, and the conditions that act upon those bodies are illustrated and recast iteratively. I was revisiting the autobiography of a language before this reading, which I really love. We have for sale over there. And I was tracking this accretive form. She's telling a story, and the story is also telling itself to her and to us, and the analysis emerges in that back and forth. Tonight, Mirene will be reading poems she's written in the past year on Zionism, the psychic drive towards obliteration, and some poems about the relationship between poetry and politics. And then here's her bio. Mirene Arsanios is the author of the short story collection, The City Outside the Sentence, Notes on Mother Tongues, and the autobiography of a language, which is from Future for sale. She lives in Brooklyn and is currently the program director at the Poetry Project. And she was also my teacher at Pratt, which was wonderful. Yeah, do you want to come up?
I don't know how that happened. That's very funny, but I think it's apt. Yeah, I'm so happy. I'm so happy to be here and introducing Mirene. In preparation for tonight's reading, I also revisited the autobiography of a language. And again, found myself marveling at its consistency, its relentless examinations, its formal imaginativeness. The book's contents are billed as essays and stories, but at every turn, the premises of both genres, the essay and the short story, are scrutinized, dismantled, and turned acrobatically on their heads. In E autobiography di un idioma, a multilingual Mirene writes, I wasn't entirely honest when I said I could speak without fatigue. The acrobatics of points of view are exhausting. Mirene sustains these acrobatics throughout this essential collection, turning exhausting into exhaustive, in the sense of leaving no stone unturned. To use a shared expression, which Mirene, in the same essay, describes cheekily as founded on hard-won consensus, and their meaning is fixed, sedimented like an island rock. Since there is nothing natural about my mother tongue, perhaps not unlike Mirene, and I too have a language problem, I often consult the dictionary to make sure that I'm using terms correctly. Today, I am reminded that exhaustive is synonymous with all-inclusive, which I can't not associate with all-inclusive vacation packages, and I think, how appropriate, since the essay that sent me on the search involves a deregulated language sitting in an evanescent bank account somewhere on the British Virgin Islands and living amid a slew of luxury resorts, spas, and white tourists lathered in sunscreen trailing iridescence in infinity pools. That's Mirene. This language is English, of course, and English inseparable from its history that, in its colonial rapaciousness, has scurried, again quoting, has scurried ocean bottoms, seamlessly meandering continental distances, end of quote. An English that in this essay, which is also a story in an autobiography, Mirene's Caribbean grandmother firmly believed would help her get a job and communicate with tourists and the world beyond the island. I can't help but return to the question of genre. How go forward with the awareness that no word is innocent? Mirene's writing appears in prose form, but its microscopic dissections and macroscopic framings of language are that of a poet and a self-described closeted translator, working in the crucible of English with her grandmother's Creole, her surrogate mother tongue Spanish, French, her own mother's preferred aspirational language, and her Lebanese father's Arabic. Mirene is a true language worker, that is, a writer who not only works the language to open up new avenues of thought and experience in and through it, but also one who, deeply aware of its conditions of production, aims for a fairer distribution of its means. And speaking of means, in that same piece, E autobiography di un idioma, Mirene speaks of an English that rarely strays from its intentions, that, again, quoting, means what it says and is suited for uneven deals in which one of the parties always leaves slightly fucked. English has fuck in it, a word that always gives Mirene great satisfaction. I derive an equal satisfaction from quoting Mirene, and I could go on doing it till the cows come home, so they say. But it would be a much better idea for me to get out of the way so you can finally hear the essays and stories from the horse's mouth, to use another shared expression. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you so much, Monica. Thank you so much, Ahana. I don't know if my reading can live up to 2 intros, honestly. It's like a lot of pressure. But thanks everyone for coming. So nice to see you all. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in. I tend to sort of blabber a lot and offer context, but I'm going to be very brief. So the first piece I'm reading is a series of very short flash fictions that I started writing after October 2023. The genocide started. And they're just kind of, sort of capture some of my encounters with Zionists in New York City. And then I'll introduce the next piece and then the next piece. Okay. So this one is titled October 2023, July 2024, Ongoing. All professors were summoned to a conference room with orange and limoncello flavored seltzer scattered on the table, which made me curious. I tasted limoncello once or twice before in Italy and found it hard to translate the density of its sweetness to a carbonated drink. Back then, I went by the Italian ways, which made me anxious. The constant looking, the village's collective ownership of my appearance felt menacing. Although I did befriend 2 Roma girls who offered to take me to the piazza, and I said yes. I sat next to her, avoiding her face, staring instead at patches of expanding mold on the ceiling panels. I could hear my stomach flickering in the light above my head. We took turns sharing our thoughts about the situation, which was horrifying, some said, others said brutal, gruesome, or simply sad, while others observed that they found it impossible to settle on a single adjective, that nothing could capture the magnitude of the violence we were witnessing, which was followed by a silence she instantly broke by talking about safety, how much she feared for her family. I wanted to leave the conference room, but I also wanted her to repent for her shit country. All countries are shit countries, struggling in retrospect to legitimize the bloodshed that birthed them to existence, but her country was stuck, compulsively repeating the massacre that led to its foundation. With a flick of her shellacked nails, she popped the limoncello-flavored seltzer open and offered a definition of the word terrorism some colleagues seemed to approve of. Do you want to meet me between 7 and 9 before my shift begins? My lover texted, while professors in the room expressed themselves in long, sticky sentences. If you don't communicate what your needs are, how can I know what upsets you? She asks, as if needs were exempted from principles, every behavior now turned into an individual responsibility, the necessity of expressing the need not to be exterminated being one example of a need she wouldn't have considered if not expressed as such. I'll meet you at 7, and I want you to sit on my face, I texted my lover back, adding that I had an erotic dream about him. His dick was floating somewhere mid-air, sperm release in the ether, as we both scrambled to catch it. And this is for my co-op friends. The Unity people stood outside the picnic house, distributing carrots. They have lost the light entirely. On stage, they cry and they lie, complain about being unwelcome in salsa classes, about how they can't buy grapes in peace now with all these fanatics standing outside the shop, fighting on behalf of more than 50,000 dead the enemy has murdered. The healer complains about the activists disturbing the energetic field. How dare their trouble the harmony Unity has succeeded at establishing war after war. They speak a loud language of empty signifiers repeated in the hope that noise might produce a dissociative effect, a widespread hallucinatory reality in which everything is propped up to deny the sea of blood, the cascade of bones falling off their mouth every time they open it. It makes me want to write, appeal to the universal principle of reason used historically to justify massacres. But if not reason, what else are we left with? Energy? How is the machine called, the one used to crack the pavement open, turning asphalt into clumps of unwanted matter? While the workers labor maneuvering their tools, I immerse myself in The Children's Crusade, a novella written in 1896 in which something intense happens over the course of very few pages, which is how my brain is trained to relate to the world via spectacle, peculiar details and unresolved dialogue rather than perceptive habits forged over the slowness of lengthy paragraphs. Over the course of 30 pages, unaccompanied children undertaking a pilgrimage to Jerusalem are massacred, more than 20,000 dead children if you consider those buried underneath the rubble. The construction workers' damp forearms shine like a mirage. Children have faith in their own innocence. What kind of repair are they working toward? From what angle should the asphalt be destroyed to be made smooth and functional again? Next to me, a man in rolled-up sleeves is holding a sci-fi book with fingers he licks generously every time he flips a page. The children in white tunics are nameless. They believe in being white and wresting back Jerusalem from the Arabs. They're ignorant, wild children. Who other than them has faith in roads? Is the problem with fiction that it reduces everything to a relatable experience that results in release, the disruption necessary to break the world apart, shattered to pieces, domesticated via imagination, its edges as thin as a page whose physical destruction would be close to impactless if reduced to a single consciousness, like the one of the private school child living next door who tells my son that public schools are dumb and anti-Semitic? Like, how can we liberate writing from irreducible particulars, help it acquire a function? A valley separates me from the actor, and these are also based on dreams, so they also kind of capture the psychic realm, let's say, that I was experiencing as the genocide was unfolding. A valley separates me from the actor. I ask him if various languages are spoken in Hawaii. Only one, he says, but I have a hard time believing him. I step into a bakery in a short denim skirt, and the bakery turns out to be the actor's dingy living room. I was just passing by, I say, which is another way of saying I'm not desperately stalking you. But the actor doesn't seem to care about my performance. His embrace is genuine, unburdened. He's packing, he says, moving to an unnamed country. While he packs his enormous objects, I offer to prepare dinner with the meat laid out on the kitchen counter. Cow tongue, lamb kidney, animal hearts. I'm in love with the actor, who is much older than me, yet suspect that he has killed something. He takes me on a tour of the house, which brightens up and expands as we walk through rooms whose ambiguous function worries me. I'm concerned by the size of everything in the apartment. Your objects are so large, I keep repeating, so that the truth is established until we reach a room that brings us back to the valley, or what I thought was a bakery. Our love is internal, externally facing a shop, serving oversized sandwiches to clients speaking Russian and Mandarin, sometimes Greek. I remember the feeling of stillness and the agitation outside, men going in and out of gas stations they're about to blow apart. I'm experiencing love with a depth that pierces through age. This is how words come to you, I think, while also feeling anguished at my exhaustion or the possibility that this love might end soon, with me and the actor eating our hearts out while the world outside is working hard towards change. Okay, and I'll read maybe two more in the series. Raya was caught with Haitham on a roller coaster in an enemy neighborhood. We are provided evidence of her fear of their secret relationship. Her eyes are cropped, iris hardened with red light like a dog decoding the dark, whereas Haitham stands in plain sight, taking a ride on a roller coaster whose maintenance worries us all. I show the picture to Haitham and Raya to Ghalia, who decides to get her hair bleached despite the damage she knows it will cause. She addresses the hairdresser in an East London accent while she talks to me in an American one. She goes back and forth, determined to undergo this transformation. I'm assisting her, although I feel insignificant to the unfolding of the scene. This beach is gorgeous, stretching across patches of dark and lighter blues, the undertow brushing against an uneven bottom in order to make a wave. They're coming for us, a community of obsolete bodies fucking each other in broken amusement parks. They want our visas back. I feel guilty, retrace the source of my voyeurism to my yearning for a land that is about to swallow me whole. Why do I think that my endurance has led me to think this way? And this is the last one in this piece. The woman didn't know that we were enemies until someone told her. How dare you boycott my country? In her voice, a belief system that had taken hold of her entire body, her vocal cords projecting outraged sound wave that clashed with an ambulance siren speeding through with convictions of its own. I glance at her cart, frozen dumplings, wet cat food, vegan sausages. "What a disgrace you are," she said. "You're such a disgrace," which made me think of the word disgrace as something that fell from grace, a God-sent curse, a downgrade of reality. "Have a good night," I said. "Have a good night," but that's not what I meant. I meant, I hope you rot in hell and that your face experiences a distortion your current expression can never approximate. I felt a certain lightness in my chest, my navel on par with the horizon of a child. We were enemies now, which didn't mean that we hated each other, since hate comes with hope and my enemy was hopeless, a realization that resulted in a sense of peace, a feeling of grace, the free and unmerited favor of God as manifested in the salvation of sinners and the bestowal of blessings. Okay. So, hi, Mark. I'm going to read a piece called Matter for Matter, and it's a kind of essay/poem. As Monica said, my relationship to genre is very confused, but I think I'm a poet at heart who writes prose. But this is an essay called Matter for Matter. I spent the summer pondering the obliteration, and I also want to say that some of the images in this essay refer back to the beginning stages of the genocide and just kind of capture moments that felt and are still sort of have been buried since then with other sort of outrageous subsequent sort of scenes of violence. So I think maybe that sort of will reactivate your memory around certain moments or earlier moments. Okay. I spent the summer pondering the obliterating dimensions of the psyche, the way a parent may see their child as an extension of themselves, or the way we tend to annihilate whoever threatens our own sense of containment. I was invested in understanding the violence of non-recognition via the assertion of borders, the logic of exclusion that reduces distinction to negation. I want everybody to be an adult, as in the amount of harm you were exposed to as a child can never justify how much harm you can inflict on others, even if adults, like dragons, are an imaginary category. Partially real, partially real. In fact, my attachment is rooted in an ancient fixation, a warm impasse, a permanent symptom. I feel both vitalized and corroded by its repetition, the repetition of the symptom. I say you because you accuse me of being righteous, but you were wrong and I was right. I'm absolutely convinced of this fact, which is the truth. My friend Amani has large, watery eyes, black like light after the 5th or 7th day. I stare at her, refusing to look away, each cigarette puffing at pathetic paradoxes, because what is love if not feelings extricated from the condition of their feelings? How can the singer think of herself as good when she is so evil? The Islamic University was first erected under tents, Jamat al-Khayyam, a school of ashes, ashes to rubble, rubble for rubble, a changing preposition, organizing order that, unlike a fact, can't be demolished. Nothing will be rebuilt and/or everything will grow. Today, I'm full of life, of ideology, canvassing on a wet pavement, trying to convince a man, any man, to give me a signature. Someone internally sweaty interrupts me. He desires a reasonable conversation. Isn't it better for them to leave to avoid being killed? Wouldn't that be the humanitarian solution? I refuse to believe that he believes in the logic of his own argument. Like when he says that he isn't starving them when he is starving them, does he believe that he isn't starving them? Or that we aren't destroying a people but protecting a people is a rhetorical inversion that can hold in the face of more than 50,000 martyrs? But he is right. It is a humanitarian solution, a set of lethargic beliefs materially engineered to serve the interests of the ruling class, the nation state, the endowment, the yearly budget, the machine now stalled by students thrusting their bodies into the syntax-heavy memorandum. You begin to stutter, add a disclaimer. The writer refers matter to the symbol. The reader refers the symbol back to the matter. In other words, violence is now violent. A starving baby is now a starving baby. Is that a poet's dream, to restore the dullness of perceptive habits to the shattering magnitude of the real, to render experience in blood? I'm shocked, as shocked as I was yesterday when I said, I'm shocked, I can't believe this is happening. My stupor outdoing itself with each renewed atrocity, forecasting in its recurrence a future that, although predictable, remains impossible to imagine. Like, what can be more fucked up than an individualized campaign of mass extermination, the enemy's repeated decision to deprive an entire nation, each single person, of sustenance, their personal investment in severing every Palestinian body from its relationship to life and death? If by life we mean the capacity to grow, feel envious, fall asleep, and by death, the termination of that capacity. The realms now blurred by the enemy's desire to wreck the rituals that keep them apart. Like, how do you go on living as the only surviving member of a once family of many, or bury loved ones incinerated beyond recognition, like, quote, charred hot dogs, the foreign doctor says on a radio show meant to shake Western listeners out of apathy, or worse, complicated feelings? There are so many horrifying stories I could tell you, like the one time I personally had to amputate a child, no drugs to mitigate the pain, only white burning vinegar to keep the wounds from infection, before she died of agony, not the wound itself, while clutching the hand of a gray-faced nurse who, before leaving the hospital, had to borrow civilian clothes to avoid being targeted for assisting a 3-year-old child, shot in the head twice, the first time intentionally, the second time deliberately, the doctor says, his use of blasphemous similes not nearly as degrading as the life and the death Palestinians are still enduring. Every day I wake up alive with images of war I simultaneously understand and don't understand, the purpose of this piece being to ignite some kind of commitment to incomprehension, an invitation to betray the social order that normalizes stepping over a woman on 2nd Avenue, head flat against stained cement, mouth drooling onto a breast full of holes. Shock is a wavering threshold, exposing how the intolerable becomes tolerable by obfuscating through a stream of shocking, unbearably shocking images, empire's own shocking brutality. Last night, a woman reading the creases of my feet tells me that I'm the devil. She is uncomfortable with her discovery, the truth she's handing me about myself. I feel emboldened, ready to cut through my enemy's throat with the tip of my nails. I'm powerful, yet view my power with suspicion and struggle to accept it. I tell S about the woman who reminds me of Gabi, a former roommate who spoke to plants in a language of her own. He tells me about the basement and sex. He struggled with self-respect. We go on talking about the left. What violence are you ready to accept in order to oppose another larger violence? What is the cause under which contradictions dissolve, the attainment of a greater good that dwarfs other sizable evils? I'm asking you, not you, he says, knotting a frayed rope around my wrist, gently slapping my cheeks with one hand and with the other constricting my throat, slowing down my blood. I share a draft with Salma, who tells me, no, stay with us. Why give the sweaty man language to sweat? Like, when you say you, who exactly are you referring to? Is the shifting nature of your subject intentional? What is the correct form of address for a lover who is also a mother, an individual army, an entire society? Like, who are you and how did you become that way? Are you even worthy of interpolation? I worry when I put my toothbrush in my son's lunchbox, convinced it's a spoon, drink stagnant, dust-coated water I forget to toast bread on low heat overnight. I worry that I'm partitioning objects from their assigned functions, rendering them ineffective and potentially harmful. I'm worried that I'm losing essential vital skills acquired over 40 years of apprenticeship and functionality, that I'm no longer able to apprehend reality as a whole. I'm scrambling with the order of things, their necessary and self-preserving sequence. If I say meet me at 6 and I show up at 9, I will have been late. Who am I hoping to let in when I leave my keys on the lock or in the lock and wake up disappointed to find them exactly where I had left them? Who's acting on my behalf, turning the faucet to scorching hot, burning my boy's lips as he spits out that toothpaste? I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. My boy's consciousness is now infected with apprehensions of bees and engines. His life's so fine. The doctor prescribes pills which, if taken consistently, can restore me to a previous chronology, execute the walking, waking, washing, the holding of the baby, the holding of the money with the hand that isn't holding the baby, all the work needed to keep a world in which cruelty has no end going. Among other things, you present a literary problem. The problem is important in as much as it addresses the creation of voice and, by extension, the formation of a subject. And having certain thoughts and not others, a character brings into existence a world that you're invited to share, your attachment deepening with a spectrum of emotions ranging from good to ugly via joy and despair. The more complex or contradictory an internal world, the more naturalistic or self-evident we take it to be. A faithful rendition of a modern urban subject, visible and highly alone in arrangements that isolate us from each other. Isn't each character in each fiction fighting to establish their right to exist? The failure of the novelist consisting precisely in dimensional lack, the way it deflates life and reduces it to an incredible, unbelievable construct. Each novel is a mood, an exercise in self-defense, a challenge to the foundational uncertainty characters forge themselves against, chiseling personhood out of an antagonizing world at the cost of other lives, minor characters. Either way, you are disintegrated, your existence devoted to an enemy without whom you would crumble under the weight of your own insignificance. Wouldn't that be nice, to be free, to undermine a world in which the utterance "I have the right to exist" is necessary in order to exist? I'm not talking about joy, but distance, an interval through which visibility is restored so that a child can be seen as a child, a lover as a lover, a father as a father. If I'm inside you, you can't see me, you see. Now watch me walking away, beyond the fence, an enemy for an enemy. Okay. And this is the last piece. Sorry, am I going over? Okay, okay. So this is more informed. This is informed by. So I became the program director of the Poetry Project and started thinking a lot about poetry, and also started taking poetry workshops and thinking about the relationship between poetry and politics. And so this piece kind of emerges from a workshop I took with Wendy Lauderman called The Lyric After Liberalism. And it's called I Want to Do More Than Publishing a Magazine, but I'm too preoccupied with my health, which is true. Okay, so I wake up to drink vegetables in pressurized form, get high on the percentage of vitamin C, D, E. I've been unwell, I tell the doctor, massaging my tongue, examining the bumps. I stare at my face, inside my mouth. The coding, Jeff says, seems to be okay. News fill the airspace with descriptions of bunker-busting bombs. My brother's angry on IG. My aunt shares an opinion piece, nice but wrong in believing that fundamentalism has plunged us into darkness. She hates hate, she writes. What a fool. The bomb burrows deep into the earth before exploding, maximizing its destructive effects against the target. Allah yarhamu. The doctor says, I'm healthy, my condition escaping the purview of Western solutions. I used to smoke a lot, living an illiterate life on a land shaped by interest I didn't understand, which is why the chart Wendy shared on how to write socially needs to be intuitively anchored in a consciousness that knows itself, otherwise it doesn't work, a claim she would disagree with, I think, because of its emphasis on the word consciousness. Adorno too believed that the lyric is de facto part of the whole, that the forces shaping the poem are larger than the poem itself, that writing will inevitably be of its time, capturing unconsciously the necessary drift and antagonism of its age, a metaphor sneaked into a stanza against its will, like pain that is chronic, no language, explanation, or methods developed enough to arrive at a diagnosis. Okay, I'm gonna skip this. Gabe is visibly annoyed, bothered by my ideology. He's much taller than me, and his curls are a soft orange I sometimes like to lick. It's pouring acid rain outside, so we're staying in, which makes the scolding harder to bear. I want to be smart and admired, not judged in this way. I'm disappointed, but also in agreement with his assessment. When I look at him, my eyes loosen up, letting through a green breeze, cooling the core of my head at the back. I'm writing in the present tense because this is all happening as I speak in defense of myself, trying to win the argument. If I know that I'm thinking badly, then I'm not really thinking badly, am I ask, a claim initially meant as an assertion that comes out as a question. Before sending me off to the shed at the back of the garden, Gabe kisses me, pulls my hair, bites my lips, his dick strong like his fingers. His ex has been waiting. I've been assigned to her for practical demonstration, how to carry out a sequence that, if performed correctly, should result in a clear, unambiguous outcome. Yet the motion, which involves my hands, feels irreplicable. I'm tasked with moving small cardboard boxes containing American-flavored energy bars, apple and cinnamon caramelized drizzle, and stacking them in larger boxes so that can be shipped to a local facility and sold, reproducing a cycle, leaving us diminished with calories. Now pick up the box, Gabe instructs me, his fingers stretching the edges of my mouth. I'm sucking diffusely, reading out loud a paragraph on the difference between therapy and diagnostic. Do you think the writer is sad or bitter, I ask. I don't think that you ever become one with what you consume. It's more like the more you read, the more you turn into pieces, I say, feeling redeemed, almost whole. Okay, skipping here. I'm gonna skip to, sorry. Okay. What we need now is a language sufficiently close to life, all aspects of it, to declare our discontent with that same order, Gabe quotes, sufficiently close to life, animated with loud effect. In class, I prompt my students to write about the single issue their lives are most concerned with. They cry, complain about the cruelty of the question, while we listen to Nation Time, Baraka reassessing his legacy from the future. I wonder if I should say something tonight before introducing Ariel, vocalize the dread, communicate a position, reiterate a stance, or would that be redundant, virtue signaling, dissonant with the context people have gathered in, a poetry reading? I ask Luca to show me his bracelet, and he extends both hands, bending his wrist like little paws so that my phone can capture the glow of his heart-shaped beads. I'm falling, I think, below sun level, the air thick with loyalty, parents in the schoolyard waiting for children to be released, fascists kissing each other's teeth, dogs humping each other as themselves. I don't mind being spanked, but there are some rules to my submission. If you follow them, I'll submit to you. Your capitulation is appalling. Help me at least conjure up a vision, a song, a prophecy. I'll always pick prophecy over religion. I'm not being difficult. I'm not being controversial. I'm just trying to stay modern, stay armed. 2 + 1 is 3, I think, collecting my lack and more so with a baby spoon. I haven't read Marx this week. When you ask whether I'm a vampire or werewolf, I say vampire. I'm a werewolf. I'm on the side of transformation, against addition, against subtraction. No amount of blood can be satisfying enough, you say, while I'm walking behind you, feeling slightly humiliated, split in 2 × 2, whereas dogs are 1, wholly loving of a master like you. Wake up, Salma writes on WhatsApp. We're beyond this stage. We're all in the database. I'm not despairing, I say. I'm okay, feeling racist against the white scum class, this nausea exceeding any structural analysis. Well, at least I have this writing, I write. I can eat an egg and its shell at once. At the restaurant, I recognize a woman's face, but I can't locate it in time. I remember her sweetness. She still looks sweet. At night, we read each other love poems. I don't like any of the poems, besides this Rumi poem, which we don't read, the one that says that the cure for pain is in the pain. You stumble twice on the word you,
You, my sovereignty, is breach, internally deported. All this air inside my cunt, there's no center here, no center. The disbandment is universal. When you were younger, you said you believed that empire should be destroyed from within, the plan being to let it all burn, let this shit collapse, deficit aflame in hot air, whereas now you believe in building a base, a Marxism without guarantee. You quote in this poem, the poem we didn't read, quote, good and bad are mixed, and if you don't have both, you don't belong to us. Okay, the last one. And then, yeah, that's it. You need to say that, you need to hear that you say, reading from Amiri Baraka, The Dictatorship of the Proletariat. The poem goes on advocating for the absolute control of the state by the working class, the didacticism of the prose leaving little room to actually hear its message, which is why the refrain is so essential to the poem. You need to say that, you need to hear that, you repeat. I like this other poem instead, Hegel, written when Baraka went by Leroy Jones. His prose still trying to understand the nightmares of economics, end of quote. The call for struggle diluted in self-awareness, no operative interpolation, the opposite of you, an exposure of lack which isn't postmodern per se, despite the effect of defeat, which could be detrimental to the cause, I'll concede. Quote, either I'm wrong or he is wrong, or right, I'm wrong, but give me someone to talk to. I read twice, amazed by the fact that both poems were written by the same person. We dispute history, and you disagree when I say that self-sacrifice might be the symptom of a lack of self-worth, the impossibility of desire to fulfill the desire of the other, which is why it is so exhausting, necessary to the struggle, the other of revolution. I don't mean to reduce everything to the psyche. I also didn't mean to say that the satisfaction I feel in knowing that these two seemingly contradictory poems were written by the same person is enough. It's more that he wrote The Dictatorship of the Proletariat after he wrote Hegel, rather than the other way around, a transition that points to a sentience of form, freedom and reduction, the necessity of reaching you with a clear, unequivocal message. Do you hear that? That's it. Thank you.
That was so amazing. Thank you, Mirene. Thank you, Roberto. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We have some books for sale. Please come to the last and future poem series with the Segue, which next week is going to be Nazareth Hassan and Carla Kelsey. Hope to see you there. Thank you.